If you want to understand why Japan has one of the lowest cancer mortality rates on the entire planet, don't look at their hospitals. Don't look at their genetics. Look at what 80 million Japanese adults do within 30 minutes of waking up every single morning. This is the habit that could make all the difference when it comes to cancer prevention. And here's what's remarkable. It isn't meditation, it isn't cold water therapy, or any other trendy practice you might have heard of. It's a specific sequence of consumable habits that, when done in the morning, directly interferes with how cancer cells grow, survive, and replicate inside the human body. For decades, researchers studying populations in Okinawa and Nagano, two regions in Japan known for having the longest-lived people in human history, found one striking, consistent factor. It wasn't genetics. It wasn't a miracle food. It was a specific set of morning habits that these populations consistently practiced. Most people, when they think about why the Japanese live longer and get less cancer, quickly assume it's because of their genetics. It's a comforting explanation because if it's genetics, then we're off the hook. We can't change our DNA, right? But here's the problem. When Japanese populations immigrate to the United States and adopt a Western lifestyle, their cancer rates increase to match ours in just 1 to 2 generations. The genes didn't change, the habits did. That's a huge observation, and it completely dismantles the genetics argument. What this tells us, and what the data supports, is that the incredible cancer protection seen in Japan is overwhelmingly the result of behavioral and dietary factors. The most powerful of these habits start long before breakfast. Let's be clear about one thing. I'm not sharing speculation or anecdotal evidence. I'm sharing science-backed research that explains exactly why a specific morning practice can significantly impact the biological environment in which cancer cells either thrive or die. Hi, I'm Dr. Leana. I'm an emergency medicine physician with nearly 10 years in clinical practice. For the last several years, my focus has shifted toward cancer prevention and the cellular biology of aging. I've had the privilege and the heartbreaking experience of sitting with patients who were told their cancer diagnosis was manageable or not urgent, only to watch them deteriorate because no one explained what their body was silently doing and what they could do to fight back. That's the conversation I never got to have in the emergency room, and it's the reason I created this channel. What I'm sharing with you today isn't just an opinion or a casual theory. It's mechanistic science, supported by peer-reviewed research, explaining exactly why a specific morning practice can alter your body's cancer defense systems. In this video, I'm going to show you why the first 2 hours after waking are your most powerful biological window for cancer defense and DNA repair, and what happens when you waste them. Now, let's talk about the biology behind this morning habit and why timing matters so much. Your body is incredibly dynamic, and every day it's working hard to repair itself, protect itself, and fight off potential threats like cancer cells. The first 2 hours after waking are especially crucial because this is when your body is most primed for cancer defense and DNA repair. Here's the science. Your body divides between 25 and 50 million cells every second. Every time a cell divides, there's a chance for a DNA copy error. But after the age of 50, 3 systems that catch and correct those errors start to weaken. Your DNA repair enzymes slow down by 20 to 35%, meaning your body becomes less efficient at fixing DNA damage. At the same time, your immune surveillance, specifically the natural killer NK cells that actively hunt and destroy abnormal cells, becomes less aggressive. And finally, your ability to block tumor angiogenesis, the process by which a cancer cluster recruits a blood supply to grow, begins to measurably decline. Let me explain why this last one matters. A microscopic cluster of abnormal cells, which your immune system could normally eliminate, can remain harmless at the size of a human hair tip. But if those cells gain access to blood vessels, researchers at Harvard Medical School found that they can expand 16,000 times in as little as 14 days. That's how rapidly a small cancer cluster can grow once it gains a blood supply. So, the earlier you can intervene in the process before these cells gain access to blood vessels, the better your chances of eliminating them. Now, this is where your morning ritual comes in. The reason your morning habits matter so much is due to a natural cortisol surge that happens within the first 30 to 45 minutes of waking. Cortisol, which is often referred to as the stress hormone, actually has a positive role in the body when it comes to cancer prevention. This cortisol surge helps prime your immune system, specifically those natural killer cells, for peak surveillance activity. This makes the first 2 hours of your day the most aggressive period of your immune system's cancer patrol. This is what makes the Japanese morning ritual so effective. It amplifies these naturally occurring processes. The three main cancer defense systems we've been talking about, DNA repair, immune surveillance, and angiogenesis control, are all activated through this simple morning practice. The research shows that the Japanese morning habit works by directly boosting all three of these systems simultaneously through three distinct biological pathways. The first pathway involves the fermented food component of the ritual. This food has been shown to dramatically increase the population of a specific gut bacteria called Akkermansia muciniphila. This bacteria is a key player in whether your immune system can locate and destroy cancer cells. A landmark study at the Gustav Roussy Cancer Center identified Akkermansia as the most predictive biomarker of a patient's immune system's ability to find and eliminate cancer cells. The second pathway is the EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate compound found in matcha grade green tea. Multiple studies have shown that EGCG blocks the VEGF vascular endothelial growth factor signal that cancer cells use to recruit blood vessels. This acts as a biological signal jammer, keeping tumor clusters frozen and vulnerable to immune elimination. By preventing the blood supply from reaching the tumor, EGCG stops it from growing larger and spreading. The third pathway involves a combination of methyl donors and polyphenols, which provide the essential raw materials your DNA repair enzymes need to reduce what's called oxidative DNA adducts. These are chemical warning flags that accumulate on damaged genetic code, signaling a higher risk of cancer. By providing these raw materials, the morning habit helps boost your body's ability to repair DNA damage and reduce the risk of mutations that could lead to cancer. What you consume in that first 2-hour window after waking up either amplifies or suppresses these cancer defense systems. The Japanese morning ritual has been built over centuries and is now confirmed by modern science as a powerful cancer prevention strategy. By engaging in these habits every morning, you're giving your body the best chance to repair itself and fight off potential cancer cells before they even have a chance to grow. Now, let's break down the specific components of the Japanese morning ritual and how each part plays a crucial role in amplifying the three cancer defense systems I just discussed. It's important to understand that this morning ritual was not randomly created. It's a practice that has been refined and perfected over centuries, and now modern research confirms its power. First, we start with matcha, or high-grade sencha green tea. This is the cornerstone of the ritual, but it's not just any tea, and it's not about drinking it at any time of the day. For maximum benefit, you should consume it within 30 minutes of waking up before you eat anything. This is critical for preserving the active compounds in the tea, especially EGCG. Matcha is made from the highest quality tea leaves, and it's packed with potent antioxidants. When prepared properly, it contains the highest concentration of EGCG, which has been shown in multiple studies to block the VEGF signal that cancer cells use to recruit blood vessels. By stopping this process, the tea helps keep cancer cells frozen at a microscopic size, preventing them from growing and spreading. The correct preparation of the tea is crucial. You'll need to use ceremonial or culinary-grade matcha, 1 full teaspoon, approximately 2 to 3 grams, and water heated to exactly 175 degrees Fahrenheit, 80 degrees Celsius. It's important that the water is not boiling, as boiling water destroys the active compounds in the matcha, especially EGCG. To prepare the tea, whisk the matcha with a small amount of cool water to create a paste. Then add the heated water. Do not add dairy milk, as proteins in dairy bind with the active compounds and reduce their absorption to about 20% of what it would be otherwise. Instead, use plant-based milk, like almond or oat milk. You can also add the juice of half a lemon, which significantly increases the absorption of EGCG, as vitamin C helps create an acidic environment that enhances its effectiveness. If matcha is not available to you, high-grade loose-leaf sencha is the next best option. 3 cups of sencha provide the equivalent amount of EGCG as 1 cup of matcha. However, matcha is still the most potent option, so I recommend prioritizing it if you can. The second component of the ritual is the fermented food. In Japan, this is often natto, which is fermented soybeans. Natto contains a powerful enzyme called nattokinase, which supports DNA methylation, a crucial process for repairing damaged DNA. Natto is also rich in prebiotic fiber that significantly boosts the growth of Akkermansia muciniphila, the gut bacteria that is essential for optimal immune function. Now, I understand that many people in the West find the texture and smell of natto challenging. So, if you can't bring yourself to eat it, there are alternatives. One simple option is to consume unsweetened pomegranate juice, which has been shown to increase Akkermansia populations by 6 times within just 3 weeks. Pair the pomegranate juice with any traditionally fermented, unpasteurized food, such as kimchi, raw miso soup, or kefir. The key is that the food must be unpasteurized, as pasteurization kills the live cultures responsible for the beneficial microbiome effects. The third component is a specific eating window, known as harahachi bu, a Japanese cultural practice meaning eat until you're 80% full. This practice encourages a mild daily caloric restriction, which activates a process in your cells called autophagy. Autophagy is essentially a cellular cleanup process where your cells digest and clear damaged components, including precancerous cellular debris. Research from the National Institute on Aging has shown that even modest caloric restriction can initiate this process, helping to remove potentially harmful cellular materials from your body. The timing of your breakfast is important. You should eat within the first hour after waking, but stop eating when you are about 80% full. This mild caloric restriction sends a signal to your body to activate autophagy and begins the process of cellular housekeeping. For a breakfast that supports this protocol, aim for a high-protein, high-fiber meal. For example, you could include 2 eggs, which provide choline, a vital nutrient for DNA repair. Add half a cup of blueberries, which are rich in anthocyanins, compounds that provide both anti-angiogenesis effects and DNA protection. You can also stir 1 tablespoon of ground flax seeds into your meal, as flax seeds contain lignans that help modulate estrogen-sensitive cancer pathways and provide additional anti-angiogenic activity. This combination of protein, healthy fats, and fiber ensures you have a balanced and nutritious breakfast, while the 80% fullness rule ensures you don't overeat. Finally, morning sunlight exposure is another critical element. You should aim to get at least 10 minutes of outdoor light exposure in the first 2 hours after waking. This is not just about getting vitamin D, it's about recalibrating your circadian rhythm. Your circadian rhythm directly influences the expression of certain genes that regulate cell division, DNA repair, enzyme activity, and immune cell function. If your circadian rhythm is disrupted, as it often is for people who don't get morning sunlight, it can negatively affect these processes and has even been classified by the World Health Organization as a probable carcinogen. So, getting morning sunlight is essential for keeping your biological systems in check. Now that you know the science behind the Japanese morning ritual and how each component works together to activate cancer defense systems, let's talk about some common mistakes that can easily undermine the benefits of this ritual. I've seen patients diligently follow the positive habits, only to unknowingly engage in behaviors that cancel out all their hard work. These mistakes are more common than you might think, so it's crucial to be aware of them if you want to get the full benefit of the morning ritual. Mistake has adding dairy to your tea. One of the most common mistakes I see is people adding dairy to their matcha or green tea. While it may be tempting to make your tea creamy with a splash of milk, it's important to understand that this essentially destroys the beneficial effects of the tea. The proteins in dairy, particularly casein, bind directly to the active compounds in the tea, including EGCG, and significantly reduce their absorption. In fact, dairy can reduce the absorption of EGCG to just 20% of what it would normally be without the milk. If you love your tea creamy, don't despair. You can substitute dairy with plant-based milk options such as almond milk, oat milk, or coconut milk, which do not have this binding issue. These alternatives will allow you to enjoy your tea without compromising the powerful health benefits it offers. Mistake #2, a high sugar or high refined carbohydrate breakfast. The second major mistake many people make is having a high sugar or high refined carbohydrate breakfast. Common foods like sugary cereals, bagels, white toast, and fruit juice might seem like convenient breakfast options, but they can actually undermine your body's cancer defense systems. When you eat foods that spike your blood sugar in the morning, you trigger an insulin response. Insulin temporarily suppresses the activity of your natural killer cells, which are the immune cells responsible for identifying and destroying abnormal cells, including cancer cells. This suppression of natural killer cell activity can last for 2 to 3 hours, which is a significant chunk of your biological morning window, right when your body is most primed for immune surveillance. A high-sugar breakfast can dampen the immune benefits of the morning ritual and make it harder for your body to fight off potential cancer cells. Instead, aim for a balanced breakfast with healthy fats, protein, and fiber to keep your blood sugar levels steady and your immune system functioning at its best. Mistake #3. Skipping the fermented component. Another common mistake is skipping the fermented food component of the ritual. While it's easy to focus on the green tea, the fermented food, such as natto or its alternatives, is just as important. This food feeds the beneficial gut bacteria, particularly Akkermansia muciniphila, which plays a key role in your immune system's ability to detect and destroy cancer cells. Many people skip this step because they find it inconvenient, or they simply don't like the taste or texture of natto. However, it's critical to include this component if you want to fully activate all three cancer defense systems. If natto isn't an option for you, you can easily replace it with unsweetened pomegranate juice, which has been shown to increase Akkermansia populations significantly. Pair it with any unpasteurized fermented food, kimchi, kefir, or raw miso soup to ensure you're getting the benefits of a healthy microbiome. Mistake #4. Replacing whole foods with supplements. The last mistake I'll highlight is replacing whole foods with supplements. You might have seen green tea extract capsules or EGCG supplements available in health stores, but relying on these supplements is not the same as consuming the real food. Research comparing whole food sources to isolated supplements consistently shows that whole foods have higher bioavailability, meaning your body can absorb and use the nutrients more effectively. Supplements, on the other hand, may not provide the same synergistic benefits, as they lack the co-occurring compounds found in whole foods that enhance each other's effects. In particular, when it comes to green tea, the EGCG found in the whole tea leaves works in tandem with other beneficial compounds like L-theanine, quercetin, and others that support each other's absorption and function. A supplement, however, doesn't provide this same complexity, and in some cases, high-dose supplements can even stress the liver, especially in individuals who are genetically sensitive. So, stick with the real food and avoid relying on supplements to replace your morning green tea. Now that we've covered the core components of the Japanese morning ritual and the common mistakes that can ruin its benefits, let's talk about how you can make this ritual work for you. Many of you might feel that your mornings are too rushed to follow all these steps. Don't worry, I've got you covered. Here are some tips and modifications that can help you stick to this protocol without feeling overwhelmed. Tip #1. Prepare your matcha the night before. One of the most common concerns I hear from patients and people who are just getting started with this ritual is that they don't have time in the morning to prepare matcha properly. If that's you, here's a simple solution. Prepare your matcha the night before. You can prepare your matcha and store it in a sealed container in the refrigerator. The good news is that when you do this, you'll still retain about 85 to 90% of the active compounds, including EGCG, when you drink it the next morning. This allows you to save precious time in the morning while still getting most of the benefits. The trade-off here is minimal, and the time savings are huge. I understand that mornings can be hectic, but this simple modification ensures you stay consistent with the ritual and reap the cancer-fighting benefits without having to make it a big time-consuming task. Tip #2. Lemon matters more than you think. Here's a small but powerful tip. Add half a lemon to your morning green tea. This isn't just for flavor. This step is essential for boosting the absorption of EGCG. The ascorbic acid in lemon creates an acidic environment in your stomach and small intestine, which protects EGCG from degradation and significantly increases its absorption. Studies have shown that adding lemon to your green tea can increase EGCG absorption by up to 6 times. This is the easiest, cheapest intervention in the entire morning protocol with the highest return. So don't skip the lemon. It's a game changer for your health and cancer prevention. Tip #3. Consistency over perfection. I understand that it might seem overwhelming to try to get everything perfect, but I want to emphasize something very important. Consistency beats perfection. Many people fall off track because they aim for perfection and end up feeling discouraged when they can't do everything exactly right. The truth is, even if you only follow 70% of the protocol consistently, you will still see significant benefits. The biology of these habits is cumulative. For example, Akkermansia muciniphila in your gut needs consistent feeding to maintain its dominance and support immune function. Missing a day or two isn't a disaster. It's the abandonment of the habit that causes the most harm. So don't worry about doing everything perfectly. Just aim to do it consistently and you'll see the results over time. Tip #4. Adjust for seasonal light variations. Another key component of this ritual is getting morning sunlight, but you need to adjust based on the season. In winter months, especially in higher latitudes, the natural light in the early morning may not be strong enough to properly calibrate your circadian rhythm. If you live in an area where mornings are dark in the winter, for example, above 40 degrees latitude, a 10,000 lux light therapy lamp for 10 minutes can help you achieve the same results as outdoor sunlight. This is crucial for keeping your biological systems in check, so don't skip this step, especially during the darker months of the year. Tip #5. Track waist circumference, not weight. When it comes to tracking your progress, forget the scale. Instead, track your waist circumference. Visceral fat, which is the fat around your abdominal organs, is much more metabolically active than subcutaneous fat, the fat just under your skin. Visceral fat constantly secretes inflammatory compounds that can suppress immune function and promote angiogenesis in cancer cells. You can't see visceral fat, but it's one of the most important indicators of your metabolic health. For men, a waist circumference of over 40 inches is a risk threshold, while for women, it's 35 inches. If you're above these numbers, this morning ritual becomes even more important. In fact, adding 20 to 30 minutes of walking after breakfast can help reduce visceral fat and accelerate your results. Tip #6. Stick to whole foods, not supplements. As I mentioned earlier, whole foods are always preferable to supplements. Green tea extract, EGCG supplements, and other cancer-fighting pills may be tempting, but they do not offer the same bioavailability and synergistic effects as the real thing. Whole foods provide a complex matrix of nutrients and compounds that work together to provide greater benefit. So, avoid taking shortcuts with supplements. Stick to the whole food sources, including high-quality matcha or sencha, fermented foods like natto, pomegranate juice, and nutrient-dense breakfasts. These are the foods that will provide the maximum benefit to your cancer defense systems. Final thoughts. Small changes, big results. The Japanese morning ritual is a scientifically backed, simple practice that can significantly reduce your cancer risk, especially if you start implementing it in your 40s and 50s. By activating your body's natural cancer defense systems, such as DNA repair, immune surveillance, and angiogenesis control, you're giving your body the best possible chance to fight off cancer cells before they have a chance to grow. You don't need to make drastic changes to your lifestyle or diet. Just adopt these simple habits over time, and you'll see the benefits in your long-term health. Remember, consistency is key, and every small step you take will move you closer to a healthier, cancer-free future. If you found this video helpful, I have 2 requests for you. First, share this information with someone you care about, especially someone over 50. Cancer risks increase with age, and knowing how to fight back can make all the difference. Second, check out my previous video, where I go deeper into the specific morning foods that silently accelerate chronic inflammation, and why 3 of them are considered healthy by most people, but may actually be doing more harm than good. That video is the direct complement to what we talked about today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Dr. Leana out. If you want to continue learning about powerful health practices and cancer prevention strategies, make sure to hit that subscribe button below. It's free, and it ensures you won't miss out on my future videos packed with scientifically backed tips to improve your health and quality of life. Let's take control of our well-being together.